Question number 8, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, to the Minister for Economic Development, does he agree with Finance Minister the Honourable Bill English that, quote, in the past 2 years, almost 60,000 net new jobs have been created?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, I note that the Minister of Finance has already answered exactly the same question from the member's senior colleague David Parker today, but I'm happy to repeat it briefly. 57,000 more people do have a job now than did 2 years ago. That's according to the Household Labour Force Survey, seasonally adjusted, which is the standard internationally recognised measure of employment and unemployment.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
To the Minister of Economic Development, why then did he tell the House in answer to oral question 9 on Tuesday, quote, we are currently seeing around 250,000 jobs net created every year and slightly fewer than that lost every year, when Statistics New Zealand's best measure of job creation showed a net loss for the period 2008 to 2011.
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure what the member means by the best measure. I assume that he's talking about, is it the Household Labour Force Survey or the LEED? The Household Labour Force Survey is the official measure. It did decline due to a thing called the global financial crisis, which I appreciate on Planet Labour didn't occur. And then in the last 2 years, it has grown by 57,000 jobs.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, does he agree with Prime Minister John Key that the Household Labour Force Survey is, quote, notoriously volatile and, quote, an unusual survey, close quote? And with Statistics New Zealand, who say that the Household Labour Force Survey is, quote, not an accurate measure of job creation, close quote.
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not aware of the Prime Minister's quote in that regards, but I can again repeat for the member that Statistics New Zealand describes the Household Labour Force Survey thus. It is a nationwide quarterly survey which is the official measure of employment and unemployment in New Zealand. It has been providing the only comprehensive and ongoing picture of the labour force since it began in October 1985, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the members casting around to try and find some more negative numbers, but actually the HLFS shows a creation of 57,000 more people in jobs now than 2 years ago.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, to the Minister of Economic Development, does he agree with the Minister of Finance that the Household Labour Force Survey excludes self-employed workers, or with Statistics New Zealand, who say the reverse?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, I don't recall the particular quote that he attributes to the Minister of Finance. What I can say is that the LEE, whatever it is, the linked employer data set does exclude the non-PAYE jobs he refers to.
Point of order, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, I seek leave to table a transcript of the Minister of Finance's interview on Radio New Zealand this morning, in which he makes the statement that the Minister was unaware of that the measure excluded self-employed
radio transcripts
workers.
recent like that are available to all members. Supplementary question, Andrew Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I've called Andrew Williams for a supplementary question.
To the Minister, how does he explain the fact that between the second quarter of 2010 and the second quarter of 2012, the Household Labour Force Survey recorded a total of 57,000 new jobs, yet the National Employment Indicator during the same period recorded only 33,245 new jobs?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, I may be able to help the member in that regard. I understand the NEI is an experimental series which does leave some matters out. And if he goes to the Department of Statistics, I think they will tell him. But again, I would stress that the HLFS is the official measure of employment and unemployment. But I think the point the member may be seeking to make is that either way the number isn't big enough. And certainly from the government's perspective, we are looking for measures to see stronger growth. That's why we're putting all the effort into the business growth agenda with items such as the oil and gas exploration, the intensification of agriculture, international investment and the convention centre. And I note that the monetary policy statement says that the economy is 2.5%. Sorry,
this is all beyond the question actually asked. Andrew Williams.
Minister, why has the government stopped publishing both the linked employer-employee data set and the National Employment Indicator?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, I really don't know the answer to that question. I can tell the member, though, that the Department of Statistics is pretty notoriously independent, so I'm pretty sure that if they wanted to publish something like that, they of course would.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Speaker, which data set would the Minister choose to use to deny the reality that the unemployment rate continues to rise and that more children in South Auckland are going to school with hungry tummies?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr Speaker, I'm not sure that I agree with that member's characterisation of either of his questions. What I would say to the member, there's no doubt about it, that the times have been tough for the world, that New Zealand is doing better than most, that we're seeking to do better again. Our economy is 2.5% larger than it was last year. We are ambitious for New Zealand. If he would like to wander over to Europe or to America, he will see an entirely different perspective on what's going on in the New Zealand economy.
Question. Supplementary question, is it?
It's a point of order.
Point of order, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
I seek leave to table a document from the Parliamentary Library which shows that average incomes have risen but median incomes have fallen, that inequality has risen and that the children of the poorest are more in poverty.
Leave is sought to table that document from the Parliamentary Library. Is there any objection? There is objection. Question number 9, Dr. Kennedy Graham.